Welcome to Determined Women of Destiny on Rudy Radio. I am your host, Yvonne, the Motivator Man. This is the show that gives you the business, the good, the bad, and beautiful of female entrepreneurship, providing business empowerment through inspirational motivation. Today, I have a woman that she's going to talk to you about her struggles that she has had just to leave her son's legacy. A mother's greatest joy is the day she packs her child up and drops him or her off to college. It is their introduction to adulthood. Their child will be totally on their own to make their own decisions. Mama is proud. But for this mom, her dream was ripped away from her when her son Malik was gunned down only days before he was to leave to attend Monroe University. Indiana Sweeting understands the pain. Malik was her son, and she has written a book, Malik's Path, that tells the story of this remarkable young man, and she also has a foundation named after him also, Malik's Foundation. Welcome to the show, Indiana.
Thank you.
Tell us about Malik's Path Foundation. How did you start it? And what does it represent? And who do you want it to impact?
Malik Path was started, September 4th, 2016. He was gunned down. He was murdered in Wyandanch. And to help me cope with his death, I started Malik Path because Malik was into sports. Education was very important to him. And to me, Malik Path provide scholarship for graduating seniors in our community.
So you want to make sure that other young men will have the chance that was stolen from Malik.
Yes, to continue college and go on with their lives. Yep.
Now, Malik's story for me just gripped me. It just did. I didn't know Indiana, and I was on Facebook, and the story popped up, and literally I sat there and cried because I said, wow, he was on his way to college, And then when I met Indiana and we spoke about it, not only was he on his way to college, it was a few days, right, Indiana, before?
2 days.
2 days before. 2 days before. Now, for all of my listeners that don't know where Wyandanch is on Long Island, it's in Suffolk County. And it has the highest crime, one of the highest drug levels, and prostitution. And that's what Wyandanch is known for. They don't tell you that, most of the houses are owned by two parents, and the income in each house usually is about $65,000 to $100,000 a year. They don't tell you of all the good things that happens in Wyandanch. They don't tell you that the principal in the high school works very, very hard so that the young men will have an example to follow. Because a lot of these young men don't have fathers. So the principal, Mr. Sibley's, has taken it on to, have a leadership role to give them something to follow, something to dream for, something to look forward to. And from what I know of, Malik was one of his favorites.
Yes.
He was able to get that scholarship because of Mr. Sibley's and the fact that he could run really fast.
Yes.
Now, I know that you have run into a lot of roadblocks when it comes to Suffolk County and obtaining funds for your foundation. Tell me how you've been ignored by Suffolk County. Like, you would think that Suffolk County would say yes. Gun violence is horrible in Suffolk County. Gun violence is at an all-time high in Wyandanch, and here is a woman whose son was gunned down in the streets of Wyandanch, and she's trying to do a foundation. And tell me how they've ignored you.
Like every September his anniversary, I would have a big scholarship fundraiser. I would write The majority of the politician in Suffolk County, and only 2 would answer my call.
My goodness. And
Just
then
2 of them.
when you're looking for funding just for every foundation has money. You know, you don't have a foundation without it, but yet your foundation is penniless.
Yes.
And everything, if I'm not mistaken, everything comes out of your pocket.
Yes, I sell dinners, I sell t-shirts. I do everything for my foundation. I'm still able to give 2 graduating seniors scholarships.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me, with no help, dinners and t-shirts, you were able to raise enough to give 2 seniors scholarships this year?
For the last 4 years, I've been doing it on my own. 4 years, 2 students get a scholarship from Malik's Path.
That is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely. I know that I worked with you on one of your events. I was the host for it.
Yes.
And I think we had room in there for about 75 people.
Yes.
And about only 25 showed up.
Yes.
Well, we were able to raise $200 that night, remember?
Yes, yep.
And we had so much fun raising it that people didn't care about giving another $1 or giving another $5. You know, as soon as it got to 100, you know, we added, let's go to 150. As soon as it got 150, like, let's go to 200. And everybody was laughing. It was such a great time. The area was decorated wonderfully. And I gotta tell you, the food out of this world.
Indiana
is Barbadian. Did I say it right? Or
the Bahamian, from the Bahamas.
Okay, Bahamian, yes. And those oxtails were kicking. But she is an excellent cook. That's why she says she sells dinners. Excellent cook. The food was out of this world. And I
did the decorations. All the decorations.
Yeah, all the decorations. And for everybody listening, you hear the story, but on Thursday night, 7 p.m. on Facebook or YouTube, you'll be able to see pictures as you listen again to this podcast of Indiana's work. She's excellent when it comes to decorating. She did a Sweet 16. Matter of fact, I think that was the first time I met you. She did a Sweet 16 from the Dollar Tree that looked like the Taj Mahal. I was floored. Yes, because I kept saying, who did this? Everybody said Indy, Indy, Indy. And I didn't get a chance to meet you that night. I just heard about you. And I was a speaker at the Women's Diversity Network. And that's where I actually met you. And I asked you, could I tell your story? Because I was doing cultural diversity and inclusion, the Great Divide. And I felt that your story, you know, fit right in there, because if you were not a Black mother with a Black son and a Black community, the whole county would have came out for you. If you were Irish, if you were Italian, if you were Greek, in one of those neighborhoods, you would have never been ignored. Everybody would have come out and just rolled up their sleeves and said, hey, what a great, great thing you're doing to, you know, have your son's legacy continue on, and that his son would also have a legacy that he'd be able to look up and say, yeah, that was my dad. And yes, he was a teenage father. Yes, he was. And he was a good father for the time that he was here. And he was going to school to make sure that even though he was a teenage father, he wanted to make sure that he would be able to provide a life for his son that was a life not of, you know, poverty or of warning of lack. He knew that if he had a college education, he would be able to have a better life than if he didn't. Do you think the loose gun laws in Suffolk County are to blame for the flood of guns that plague our minority neighborhoods across Long Island, like Wyandanch?
Yes, I believe that. I believe the loopholes in the law allow all these guns to be flooded on the streets.
Our gun laws have to be a little bit more stringent. It makes no sense that you can go in a minority neighborhood and buy 22 for like $75.
Yes.
You know, it just doesn't make any sense. And I know that people have to have responsibility, but if it's not available, you know what I mean? If it's not
Not
available,
available, then you wouldn't have. Yep.
um, hmm. But it really, I just have to take a minute because it's so sad. There are so many young people that have lost their lives just in Winans. I'm just talking about one town.
Yeah.
I mean, across Long Island, Suffolk County, this is absolutely ridiculous. Our children, how they're losing their lives, you know, blocks away from their home. They're on their way home and they don't even make it home. This is really, really sad for me, and I know it is for you too. And that's why you're out here fighting with Malik's Foundation. Now, I know that you go to Albany and you do lobbying, and you've met other women who have lost their children to gun violence. Tell me about your interaction with them and how they encourage you to move forward.
Well, I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action. These ladies work hard, writing letters, making phone calls to the politician to pass the senseless gun law, for a longer waiting period for the buy gun, closing the loophole to keep the guns out of the hands of the criminal and the mentally ill.
Well, you guys have been working for a minute. What exactly is the holdup to get this bill passed?
It was in August 24, 2019, the New York State passed the Red Flag Gun Law, also known as the ERP, is Extreme Risk Protection Order. The law, this law prevents individuals who show signs of threat to themselves and to others from buying or even possessing a gun. That law was passed. That's the law.
That's the only law. So if I don't look like I'm going to cause a threat to somebody or cause a threat to me, I can go and buy a gun. Does that make sense to you? Because this show don't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's the law.
That's like they just gave you something to appease you. Since you guys were up there on a regular lobbying in Albany, okay, let's just give them something. So they feel like their work wasn't in vain. That's like a tip, and you didn't pay for your dinner yet. You know what I mean? That's horrible. How can we help you and the other mothers as far as getting a good law for gun control passed? What can we do? Do we write letters?
Write letters, phone call, to the governor, the senators, the local politicians. I know something has to be done. Something has to be done.
It's not that they don't know, because they do the statistics. They see the numbers. And they would like to say that it is, the young people in the neighborhoods killing each other. Now we have that, and we do have people outside of the neighborhoods. That's not the issue. The issue is, how do we make it harder for just a regular Joe Schmo to walk into a store and buy a gun?
But
there has to be a regulation.
A stricter background check, a longer waiting period. I don't know.
So when we write, that's what we should put into our letters, that we want more astringent gun laws. We want more intensive background checks. We want to make these guns not available to anyone under a certain age.
Yeah, and make the owners responsible too. Secure your guns. So, if people break into your house, steal your gun into your car, they shouldn't be that available.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you could have a gun in your house for your own protection. Somebody breaks in your house and steals your gun, and now they commit a crime.
Yep.
And now they're coming for you, and you're like, hey, listen, my house was broken into. But yeah, make sure your guns are safer. When we come back from break, I want to talk about your book, Malik's Path. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
Have you always wanted your own private chef? Doesn't that sound good? Well, stay tuned for Cooking with Chef Mark Anthony Bynum.
How you guys doing? This is Chef Mark Bynum of Mark Bynum Concepts here with another Thanksgiving tip. We're going to talk about dress today. Some people call it dress. Some people call it stuffing. I want you guys to just bring your stuffing up just a notch this next coming Thanksgiving. Instead of just using one type of sausage, like sweet Italian sausage, add a little bit of heat to it. Instead of just using the dry ingredients that they give you, add some fresh herbs to it. Chop up some parsley, chop up some thyme, maybe even chop up some chives and finish it and put that on top. Make sure you put that whole butter in there and make sure it's nice and moist. The moisture content stays on there by keeping it covered for a little while. And then on the hop, meaning right before you serve it, take the top off, put it on broil, maybe baste it with a little bit of butter. And you could use salted butter on top of that. I know I say unsalted butter, but you could use some salted butter. That's my stuffing tip for Thanksgiving. Chef Mark Bynum, Mark Bynum Concepts. I'll see you again next week.
Hey, good people, you're listening to Determined Women of Destiny on Rudy Radio. I'm your host, Yvonne, the Motivator Man, and my guest is Indiana Sweeting. She is the author and CEO of Malik's Foundation. She's the author of Malik's Path. She is the mother of the young man that was slain 2 days before he was to go off to college and wine dance. And what year was that, Indiana?
2016. 2016.
Okay, 2016. We call this the shot that rang out through Long Island. If you're just joining me, I'll recap for you. Indiana Sweeting's son was on his way to college. He was gunned down in the streets of Wyandanch, and she has started a foundation so that she could keep her son's legacy going. Every year for the last 4 years, she has given 2 graduating seniors from Wyandanch a scholarship. She has done all of this out of her pocket, selling dinners and selling t-shirts. And she's here today just to give you some information. We talked about the gun laws, and then also how Suffolk County has not even tried to help her with her foundation. Indiana, what inspired you to say, I'm going to write a book about Malik's life?
Well, I number one, I wanted to shine a light on gun violence. And then number 2, I wanted to tell Malik's story to the world. That Malik was a good kid, He was on his way. He was so happy that he was going to be going to college. He said, Mom, when I finish school, I'm going to buy you a house and we're getting up out of here.
You see?
Yep.
And his dream was taken away from him.
Yes.
And the story on the streets is that someone called out his name and he turned around and the conversation was, where do you think you're going? Can you imagine someone being jealous of you, of having a better life? A better life. A better life. That's a whole nother show within itself. A whole nother show.
Yeah, but you know what? I would tell Malik all the time, you're good, but you don't know what the other person is doing. It's like he'd say, oh my, nothing is gonna happen to me. But you know what? He's gone. I have to visit him in the cemetery.
And that's because he thought everybody's heart was as kind as his.
Yeah.
That everybody he came in contact with, and I really do. I feel like I know him because I've heard so many great stories about him. And it's funny because my daughter went to school with your older son. And growing up, I always heard about Rashawn bumpers in my house. We laugh because I went on a trip with your oldest son and my daughter, and we were all playing around. We shouldn't have been, and we brushed past the teacher, and the teacher said, "Rashawn bumpers, did you push me down the stairs?" And all we could do was laugh because he did. You never, this is a small world. You never know how you're connected.
Connected. You're right.
I didn't know that years later that I would meet you, and we'd even form a friendship from meeting you. Malik's Foundation provides those 2 scholarships, and it makes such a great impact on the community of Wyandanch. Now, you have the book out. How are the book sales going?
The book is doing well. The book sale is doing well. Yeah, the book sale is doing well. I must say that.
Well, tell us how we can purchase the book.
The book is on Amazon.com. Bam! You could contact me on Facebook. Indiana Sweeting or MalikPath.org. That's where you can purchase the book.
Now, is that the same place where they can send donations for Malik's Foundation?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys heard that. You can go to MalikPath.com, and there will be an area where you can provide some assistance to Indiana to help her with these scholarships, so that Malik's legacy will carry on and he will not be forgotten. Now, when do you cook these dinners?
The COVID slowed me down a lot because I would have dinners after dinners.
Right.
The pandemic put a stop to everything.
Okay.
But
when do you think you'll be back up and running?
Maybe January or February.
Okay, all right. And that will be posted on all of my social media. So that's another way where you can help Indiana. If you know anything about grants or you're a grant writer, please contact Indiana at Malik'sPath.com, because she does need a grant writer and she does need some grants. If you're a fundraiser and you know how funds flow through organizations, why don't you contact her at Malik'sPath.com and assist her. Our community is only as great as the hand that we lend to help someone. And this mother has decided that just because I lost my son, I want to help somebody else's child to live their dream. And I think that Indiana should be helped with her dream, and that is having her foundation up and running, and that this book, Malik's Path, will become a bestseller. Tell me, Indiana, what's the next step for you? What's the next step for Malik's Foundation that you see happening in 2021?
I would hope more people, get involved with it, or help me some with Malik Path, like you say, grant writer or something, because I want to continue the scholarship. I want to continue with the scholarship.
Are you looking to do any events? I know COVID has been has slowed a lot of things down, and you got social distancing, and I know that the event that you have once a year you may not be able to have, but are you looking to do like something on Zoom to celebrate the book, a launch party for the book, and people will be able to come and talk to you personally?
Yes, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about coming out with a book, because I wanted a book signing, but like you say, majority of the halls are closed. I can't do nothing. I've been selling them from out of my house, the book, some of the books. Mm-hmm. Like, if you live in the area, I would, autograph it and drop it off. That's what I've been doing.
Okay. So we should be looking for a Zoom party, a Zoom book signing party, a Zoom book launch pretty soon, so that you can introduce this book to everybody. I want to know one thing that you would tell mothers regarding their children to keep them safer regarding gun violence.
I would tell the mother, know who your kids are hanging out with. Know your kids' friends.
All right, Indiana. I thank you so much for being with me and just discussing your foundation. That's Malik's Path Foundation, and to give me information about the book Malik's Path, and to let us know we can write letters to our congressmen, our senators. We can hold events and then do a fundraiser and have that money sent to malikspath.com and do it as a one big donation. I believe if you contact Indiana at malikspath.com with any idea as far as a fundraiser, she will work with you, because this scholarship is so important to Wyandanch. We have a lot of kids that want to go to college and they just don't have the money to do it. And this scholarship could buy books. This scholarship could be the meal plan. This scholarship could just be the extra money to pull them right over the top, so that they can get into college. So we want to just come out and help her. Indiana, thank you once again for sitting with me, talking to me, and telling me your story. I am Yvonne, the Motivator Man. You've been listening to Determined Women of Destiny. The show is sponsored by Slinger Haskell Funeral Home. My creative producer is Rudy J. Breedy. And I gotta say thank you to Max, because he's, the guy in the background. Thanks, Max. So until next time, good people, keep doing what you're doing until what you're doing gets done. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.